She was also involved in Christian student ministries. I always preferred to have Christian friends than not because we thought more alike. And although there were many Christian friends, I also felt a lack of closeness with them because of a difference of opinion as to what constituted living according to God's laws, with regards to dating, alcohol, going to clubs, etc. They constantly asked if there was something wrong with me, and they made fun of me when I refused invitations to clubs, drinking, etc. It made me feel terrible inside. One day I met several sisters I felt an instant affinity, as I had never felt before. Like me, they didn't date, curse, drink, and the long list of other vices common. It was a very good feeling to find people with whom I was so agreement on so many issues. I was surprised to learn that there was another person on the planet so similar to me. I had no idea that such a creature exists. Since it was the second time that the Muslims had caught my attention, I decided that I should at least investigate Islam. So, I called a mosque and went to it to receive it orientation. I received a copy of the Quran and began to read it. Slowly my focus began to shift from Christianity to Islam. First I stopped teaching part of Christ as Savior in my Sunday school lessons and opted for morality lessons each week. However, I soon became unable to look children in the eye when I taught them, because I felt that I was a hypocrite to them and their parents, who expected him to be a Christian model. Then during my prayer, I felt that God was leading me to stop teaching Sunday school and go the different churches on Sundays study church growth. For example, when two churches are located on the same street, why does one have 50 members and the other has 5,000? At the time it didn't make sense to me, but I felt strongly impelled to do so. I had learned that if I was sure that God was leading in a certain direction and conviction that He was God and not the own instinct or desire, so it was better to do it if I wanted life best. I had ignored His guidance in the past, and I had failed many times. More funny stories for another time. I have not discussed Islam with anyone, because I felt that I was betraying all my Christian family and friends. No, I argued even with my Muslim friends, because I didn't want my decision any pressure. Slowly, without realizing it, I began to change my beliefs from Christianity to Islam. It wasn't a quick or easy transformation, because the whole basis of my life was Christian, but still, it was transformed. One day, a Muslim friend at school, he asked me what I liked to do when I wasn't at school. Told her that my favorite activity was teaching Sunday school. She asked me where I was teaching and told him that I was not teaching anywhere. She asked why, if it was my favorite activity. At that point I realized that had changed, without even realizing that it had happened. I knew she would go back to teaching Sunday school, because she was no longer a Christian, but at the time of her instead, perhaps, possibly, Muslim. My beliefs were now solidly Islamic. It was one of the hardest things I had to admit. I think that, in a way, I hoped in the end to return to Christianity, so that my life was easier, but no. I slowly replied to her that I did not believe more in Christianity, perplexed and saddened by this realization. Was very difficult to utter those words. She asked why, and I explained that I had read the Quran and believed in its contents, as opposed to what it contained, the Bible. She asked, "So, are you a Muslim?" Said, "No, I know what defines someone as a Muslim." She asked me a series of questions about my beliefs and then told me that I was a Muslim and that I just needed to convert. I asked how the person converts, and she said she just needed to repeat the words I would say, and so I did. Then I experienced the death of my Christianity and the birth of my Islam in a few minutes. Needless say, that moment is etched in my brain permanently, inshallah, if God willing. I was so excited, but I had to that what he had thought had actually happened. I didn't want a vacillating decision regarding this conversion, that is, Muslim one day and Christian the next, Muslim the next day and back to Christianity again. So I arranged to meet with 4 imams to find out exactly what it meant to be a Muslim, realizing that she was a Muslim. The following month I was happy with the feeling of being at home. I felt that what I had been looking for all my life he had been found and, for the first time, he was in the house to which he belonged. I felt like I'd always been a Muslim, but God decided I would serve His own better interests being born in a Christian environment, because it put me in a position to serve Him from a very different angle than the Muslim who was born in the religion. I learned many things from my Muslim brothers and sisters, but there are many areas in which Muslims can learn from those who were brought up as Christians. Inshallah, I hope I never forget the day when I was converted, because as soon as I did the world suddenly seemed different, as if everything suddenly became colorful. I know it sounds very silly, but it's the only way I can describe the change I experienced. Things they looked different, smelled different, sounded different, etc. Actually I can't put it into words.